In this video, I'm going to show you how to elicit your own value systems. We hear people talk about values, but what are values? Values are frames of mind that motivate you towards or away from a behaviour. As such, the more you know about them, the more you have control over your own destiny. Now, eliciting values is fun. And if I could do it all day, I'd be quite happy doing it. And it reveals an awful lot about why you do what you do. So if you want to be an amazing success in manifesting your dreams, then listen carefully. I might suggest that it could be a good idea for you to pause the video at various stages so that you can take some notes. Because this is a do-it-yourself values elicitation video. Okay, so you take a piece of paper, have a pen in hand. Now, values, they're context dependent. That means you have to elicit values for each context that is relevant. So some contexts are life, relationships, career, business, health, sport, even down to buying a product such as a car or going on a date. So just make a note of the context. In some cases we call them values, and others we call them criteria. All right? Like your criteria for buying a car. Same thing. Either way, they influence the decisions that you make or don't make. So how to elicit values? So you start by deciding upon a relevant context. In the example I'm going to give you, the context is career. So we start by asking the question, what is important to you in an X? Where X is a context. So in this case, we ask the 43-year-old female client, what is important to you in a career? Now, keep in mind that the secret to accurate values elicitation is to ask intelligent questions and answer them honestly, without interpretation or rationalization by the conscious mind. So typically we take the first thing the person says, which could be a single word like family or a phrase like helping people. So you write down the exact words that the person says. You don't paraphrase and reinterpret what they say or you'll mess it up. The same goes for eliciting your own values. Just write down the exact thought that comes to mind. So in this example, I asked the question, what is important to you in a career? And she says, respect. So I write down the word respect. Then I ask, what else is important to you in a career? And she answers, helping people. So I write down helping people under respect. Then I ask her, what else is important to you in a career? And she replies, being a good team leader. So I add that to the list. So you keep on asking the question, what is important to you in a career? Until she runs out of answers. And then you ask, and what are the emotions that are important for you to experience on a consistent basis? This gets you a little bit more information, and you write down those answers. So we get a list of values. Respect, helping people, being a good team leader, solving problems, morality, ethics, travel, independence, prosperity, money, satisfaction, working in the service industry, worthwhile causes, recognition, belief in the products and services. Okay. Next step is to rank those values in the order of importance. So we get the client to look at the list. So you look at the list and then you ask, if in any one day you could only have one of those, which would it be? In this case, she replies, prosperity/money. So we cross that off the list and we start writing a new list. And then we ask, if you could get prosperity and money and one more, then what would it be? So you're forcing a response, all right? And then you cross it off the list, add to the second. Then say, if you could get prosperity and money and satisfaction and one more, what would it be? So you continue until you've ranked the entire hierarchy of values. You make sure you cross off as you go and you actually write down a new list. Because this is how it's ranked at the level of the unconscious mind. You don't want to be seeing the unranked list, you want to be seeing the ranked list. So in the case of this woman, We have prosperity, money, satisfaction, respect, independence, recognition, helping people. You can see it there on the screen. Belief in product service, being a good team leader, worthwhile causes, morality/ethics, solving problems, travel, working in the service industry. All right. So you get your list, you get your hierarchy of values for that context. So now you've got to check for values alignment. So what you do that by running the entire hierarchy through a piece of content and calibrating the feedback. So in the case of this woman, I just role modeled as an employer with her as a prospective employee by feeding the values back to her in sequence as follows. So I said, my company has an opening for a new employee, and I think you may fit the criteria. In fact, in this job, you'll be able to earn a lot of money and become very prosperous. And I think this may give you a lot of satisfaction because not only will you gain respect, you'll have the independence that I know is very important to you. This means you'll get the recognition that comes from helping people. What's more, the service and products we market will give you the opportunity to become a good team leader for our worthwhile cause. We require someone like you that has a sense of morality and ethics, is good at solving problems, and likes the opportunity to travel while working in the service industry. And then I said, are you interested? She replied, yes! So when you feed information back to someone within their value system, it becomes very attractive and difficult for them to resist. And this is one of the reasons how, and it's not just this, NLP has made this explicit, and you can see how unscrupulous people are able to use this to influence others. Anyway, what you might have noticed, I presented her a list of values from the most important down to the least important. Now you can also feed them back in a reverse order, so you sort of like, you're just getting like a little bit of interest, and then it gets better and better. So in that case, you start at the bottom and finish at the top. Just try it both ways and see which gets the strongest response. Now it's your turn to elicit your towards values. So I suggest that you elicit your values in the context of life, relationships, friends and colleagues, career or business, lifestyle, where you live, and in an environment in which you flourish. You got to get good at it, so you got to do it a lot. And then remember, you got to ask the question, what is important to you in that context? And you just keep asking, what else is important to you in that context? When you run out of responses, you ask, and what are the emotional states that are important for you to experience in that context? So you get like a little bit more information. You get your list, then you rank the values into a hierarchy, and this is the towards values hierarchy. Then you've got to elicit the away from values, because not everybody is towards motivated. Most people are motivated towards and away from. And often it's the away from values which are the strongest. They have more power than the towards values, all right? So you've got to understand that. Okay, so how to elicit your away from values? Okay, so once you've got your towards values, how to get an idea of your away from values. So this is what you move away from. So first off, you start asking, what is important for you to avoid in that context? What else is important for you to avoid in that context? And you get an exhaustive list and you rank it in order of importance. Usually there aren't many away from values. And you can also ask about the towards value, why is that important to you? And sometimes that will give you an away from value. Now the next step, which is very important, is your stay-go values. So stay-go values, they give you some real important information. Now, this information I'm giving to you in this video is worth a mint. Hope you realize this. Okay, so let's say all your values are being met in a context, then what would get you to leave? So let's say all your values are being met in a relationship, what would get you to leave? All your values are being met in your job, what would get you to leave? All your values are being met by the political party you vote for, what would get you to leave? And this gives you the go value. For example, let's say you're involved in a business, but it's hurting people in some way. So if you discover the business is hurting people, that's when you leave. But then you ask, so let's say you've decided to leave that context. Let's say you decided to leave that job. But then what would get you to stay, even though the go value still exists, all right? And this will give you the stay value. And it could be, for example, that you get a pay increase. So then money overrides hurting people. All right. So someone might stay in a relationship even though they have their values being violated because they get something else. You get it? They might vote for a political party. You know, all's good, but there's one negative there. And they go, well, yeah, but there's more positives than negatives, so I'm going to continue to vote for the party. And then you ask, given the above situation that all your values are being met, you decide to leave, but then something happens such that you decide to stay, even though the go value still exists, what would now get you to leave? Even though, for example, you're getting paid more. And this gives you the final exit value that takes the person over threshold. And they say enough is enough. And I think we can see that politically, like in France. Over the last 26 weeks, there's been like the yellow vests have been protesting or rioting in the streets of Paris for the last 26 weeks. For today I made this video. It's because they come to the point of enough is enough. So all you have to do is go speak to those people, find out what their values are and what the away from values are. You find out what the underlying problem is. Okay, this is about you. So what you got to, next thing is you map out the meaning. So you got your towards values, away from values, you rank them, you got your Staygo values, and then what you do is you map out the meaning associated with the values by asking meta questions. All right, meta questions. The meta questions don't have to be asked in a linear fashion, so you can ask them in any sequence. And you, most importantly, ask open-ended questions with a sense of curiosity. You've got to be curious. You can't come from a frame that you think you know. You've got to come from a frame of curiosity and fascination, a willingness to actually to discover something, to learn something. Now, over time, your intuition will guide you in the most appropriate questions to ask. So, looking back at the previous values hierarchy, we might ask our client, what would prosperity and money mean to you? And the client might answer, freedom. So we could ask, and what would freedom mean to you? Or we could ask, what would freedom allow you to have and to get? Or what would freedom allow you to do? Or how would freedom change you for who you are, your I am statement? So they're the verbs to be, to do, to have. And they might answer, the freedom to create the life of my dreams. And we could ask, and what specifically would that look like and sound like? Which is chunking back down to the specifics. Or we could ask, and why is the freedom to create the life of your dreams important to you? They'll tell you. Or we could just ask, and what would that mean to you? This chunk up to a higher level of abstraction, to an overarching frame of mind. Because remember, it's he who sets the frame controls the game. So it's the higher frames always control the lower frames. So what some people call beliefs or core beliefs or deep beliefs. But I don't like using the term beliefs because frame is a much cleaner word to use, because frame could be, it can be an attitude, it can be a belief, it could be a memory, it could be a decision, all right? So frame is much better. So some questions you might like to explore are, what is important to you in an X, where X is the subject or the context, and I'll list these in below the video if you can. So what else is important to you? What else? What else? And we can ask, what is important to you about that? And why is that important to you? What does that mean to you? And what do you think about that? What do you believe about that? Can you tell me more about that? And what do you feel about that? Once you get to experience that, then what do you get to have and to experience? You can ask, is that important to you? All right, so there's some meta questions you can ask. Okay, let's do a little summary. So if you're really serious about achieving success at the highest level and taking control of your life, then I invite you to work through the exercises in this video a number of times. Like 10 times. Practice eliciting the values of your friends and the people that you engage with. You know, you're out there shopping and you're engaging with a salesperson, they're trying to sell you something. Ask the salesperson, what's important to you about your job? What's important to you about selling? They have to answer because you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes of time with them. And you'll get some interesting information. So you practice with your friends, relationships. Okay, so you ask meaning questions. Most importantly, you sit down and elicit your own values so you discover why you do what you do, such that step by step, you get to bring your dreams into reality. All right? So please give the video a like, share with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I wish you all the best.